Hello, and welcome to Women with Books, Season 3. I know, it's a little arbitrary. I started this podcast about a year ago, September of 2017, I believe. And so we're approaching our 1-year anniversary, but it's the third season. So I was thinking about that and I was like, that's a little arbitrary, but here's the deal. So when I talk about seasons, it's really because it's just a way for me to kind of organize producing the episodes, getting guests ready. I try to make sure that, we have a good mix of genres and authors and things that I'm interested in each, quote, season. But really it's just an organizational thing for me, because I think if I had to approach a podcast with this could be 300 episodes, I think my brain would explode. So I kind of trick myself and I go, all you have to do is come up with 10 to 12 different episodes. That's all. That's easy. And so that is how we are now at season 3. And I thought we would kick off this new season of Women with Books. We're at the end of the summer, looking down at Labor Day. And I thought I'd do a little quick episode, just me, a solo episode, if you will, and kind of give a quick little orientation about what I'm up to and what we're doing here. And then we are going to go through what I read this summer that was compliant with the Women with Books Summer Reading Challenge. And so I will give you some book suggestions and an insight into what my summer reading list looked like. So I will go ahead and start. Hello, my name is Lindsay Emory. I'm your host and author of this fine podcast. I guess I probably should have done that at the beginning. I don't know. I'm rusty. Hi, I haven't done an episode in a couple of months. I took off the summer, so what? I had 2 kids and I work from home, and so trying to do some podcasting and children and dogs and all that is a lot, and I just needed to kind of take a break and focus on them and my non-public life. So, but I'm back. And like I said, I am an author. I've written 5-6 books. I have one coming out in October 2018. It's called The Royal Runaway. It is a romantic comedy adventure mystery. It's being published by Gallery Books, and so you're going to hear a little bit about that over the next month or so. It keeps coming up in kind of some of my interviews, and I am going to actually sit down and be interviewed for an episode. I have a friend who's coming on to interview me, so we're going to switch the tables a little bit, and I'm a little nervous about it. I thought, this is my podcast. It's my platform. Hell yeah, I'm going to promote my own book. But when my friend, and I won't name her yet because we haven't actually done the episode, and I know better. I don't announce an episode until it's in the can because things happen. But when she's like, hey, do you want me to interview you for Women with Books? I thought, yeah, that's a fun idea. And now as we're getting closer to it, I'm nervous. So I think it'll be good because it maybe will give me an idea of what my guests feel like. A little known fact about me, I don't think I've really talked about this before, but I've mentioned that I'm a lawyer, or I'm licensed to practice law. I don't currently practice law at the moment, but so I've spent most of my adult professional life, honestly, I've asked hundreds of thousands of questions of people because that's what lawyers do. It's not the fancy stuff you see on CBS primetime dramas. Although it can be. I mean, asking questions in a courtroom is completely valid, but a lot of your questions go in to any type of case prep. You're asking your clients questions all the time. You're asking witnesses. You're asking opposing counsel questions. I mean, you are constantly asking questions of people. And so for me, doing this podcast, that part has actually come very easily to me. I didn't really realize it until probably sometime during the second season, where I thought, this is kind of me asking questions is kind of what I'm used to doing. And so when guests tell me, they're like, well, you're really good at asking questions. I'm like, yeah, that's an expensive legal education for you. And now I'm doing podcasts for free. That makes sense. But, yeah, so I'm never nervous about asking anyone questions or trying to direct an interview. It's just kind of what I do. I mean, and even though I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot now or get them to admit something illegal, I never really tried to do that before as a lawyer either. I mean, that's not really ever... I mean, it's nice when someone comes out and admits they've broken a law, but it's a lot... You're actually more effective if you can just get people to start talking about themselves, and they will slowly reveal to you whether or not they've broken the law. Which again is not what I'm trying to do here at Women with Books, but just getting people to talk and getting them to say interesting things. So anyway, that's who I am. That's why I am kind of used to doing this. I love books. I love reading. I love hearing other people talk about books and why they read the things they do. And it's just, I kind of want to know everything about it. And as I told, I think when I talked to Sarah MacLean earlier this summer, we were just talking and I said, I started this podcast just because I wanted to have the conversations I wanted to have. I wanted to be able to invite my friends on, invite authors I admire on, invite librarians that I worship on, and say, hey, let's have these conversations that I'm just personally interested in. And so it's such a thrill that so many of y'all out there also like to hear these conversations. I have gotten such nice feedback over the summer. People have started listening to this. Hey guys, I am so glad you have downloaded all the episodes and now you're like ready for this new season. No pressure or anything. But I get lots of wonderful emails from people who say they listen to the podcast at the gym. I've been credited for people losing, 30, 40 pounds. Thank you. I don't really think that is praise I deserve, but I'll take it. I'll put it on our one sheet. No, kidding. So what do you need to know? If you're new here, what do you need to know? Orientation stuff. Sign up for my newsletter. The Women with Books newsletter is, I think, pretty good. I always say how good it is. Not many people unsubscribe from it, so that's good. I will always put links to all of the episodes, and you can listen to it straight from your inbox. So if you get my newsletter, and then you can send it to a friend, obviously, really easily if you think that they would be interested in hearing a episode. That's a kind of a perk. I put extra content in there. I ask every guest to answer some extra questions that I only put in the newsletter, and then I usually try to subscribe, give y'all a little bit more information about the other podcasts that I like to listen to. So highly recommend getting on that newsletter. And another thing that I wanted to make sure everyone knew about is I've talked about this before. When I started the podcast, season 1, every time someone recommended a book to me, I put it on my website. So those are still available at womenwithbooks.com. And then you click on, I think it's Women Recommending Books. So go there and you'll find, and I did, if Tessa Dare gave me 20 recommendations, I put them all down there, and I put links to, I think at the time I was doing Amazon and iBooks or Apple Books only. But that took a lot of work, which I didn't mind doing, except I could tell from my website that not a lot of people were using it. But I still felt very strongly that if someone comes on my podcast and they recommend a book, that I need to make sure that y'all can find that, that you're not, because you're listening to podcasts on the treadmill, in the car, wherever. You might not always be able to rewind and say, what did she say again? I didn't understand that book, blah, blah, blah. So I want to make that available for people. So what I did season 2 was I still take every single book recommendation and I put it on my Goodreads page. So goodreads.com/Lindsay Emory. I think that tag is always in the show notes. And you can go there. I have a special shelf called Women with Books Podcast, and you can go there and find all the books there. So that I'm still putting the effort in there, but I don't have to look up the buy links, obviously. Goodreads does that for me. So I haven't heard, the only problem is I still don't know like whether that's being used or not, but I'll still do it. It's not that much extra work for me, and I still feel fairly strongly about it. So for season 3, if you want a book that has been recommended on the podcast, please go to my Goodreads page, my Women with Books podcast bookshelf, and all of the books will be listed there. The only problem with that is there's no way for me to sort them, or I think they're in order, but if someone from a previous episode has already recommended that same book, which happens a lot, like Alicia Rye gets recommended a lot, so I don't always go in and re-add that book to the bookshelf, because I don't even think you can do that. I think once it's on there, it's on there. So just so you know, if there's something on there and you don't see it at the top of the list, keep scrolling through, because that's my promise, is you'll find the books there. Okay. And then the next question I get asked a lot is, honestly, how can we support you, Lindsay? Which I appreciate so much. I have a Ko-fi account. That link is in the show notes. Feel free to drop in there and say, hey, that podcast episode this season is worth a couple bucks. Drop that in there. I appreciate it so much. And the other way that I accept support is through advertising. I'm talking with some of you guys right now, or I don't know if you're listening or not, but we're trying to get all that worked out. And I have talked about that quite honestly in past episodes. Again, my promise to you is I will not put advertising in that is not, how do I put it? Relevant, maybe, to the subject matter. Like I said, I'm not going to necessarily puts new pickup truck tires or something. I don't know. I know some of you might like pickup truck tires, but it's not really on brand for Women with Books. So, but that, is always changing. And as we evolve, I will update you. And then the last way you can support Women with Books is I would really love more reviews. I'll be honest. I keep coming on here and saying, hey, you guys, leave me some reviews, because the number of reviews does not match the number of downloads in my Libsyn. We're approaching some pretty significant numbers. I can just tell when someone new discovers the podcast, or when it's mentioned someplace else, because all of a sudden I'll go in one day and it's like, what? Off the charts. I love it. But hey, if you love this podcast, please go leave me a review, because other people need to find it too, and we all need to be part of this beautiful, beautiful book club. All right. Speaking of book clubs, I have my reading list. And wait a second, let me pull this up here. What chapter was it? I call my episodes chapters. I know, it's kind of... Chapter 24. So one of my... I think it came out maybe in June or May. I did a solo episode coming up with a summer reading challenge. And it was really fun. I came up with, 10 types of books, just to challenge you to read this summer. But then, like I said, I'm not quizzing anyone. There was no official form to turn in. You didn't win anything. And I wasn't even going to really strive for fulfilling all of those either, because this is why. Because I really do feel like books are an enjoyment. They are a necessity. And, if I went the whole summer and didn't find a book with a pretty dress on it, I wasn't going to force myself to read it. I feel like you should read what you want when you want it, and be happy about it. So when I started putting together this list, I thought it was really funny. I actually completed it. I feel so lame right now. It was my idea, my podcast, and yay, I did it. Okay. I hope someone out there finds me as funny as I do. So I will just go through it. And I did read other books besides these, and I also started a lot of books this summer that I didn't finish. And again, I really want to say there's nothing wrong with that. I think we should all just be honest with ourselves that sometimes a book isn't working for us for whatever reason, because it just could be that you were by the pool and the book you were reading took a lot of energy and you just wanted something easier to read. It doesn't mean that it was bad or good or you weren't going to pick it up later. It just meant that for some reason that summer you needed something that, was more feel good or happy or light or the opposite. You really like reading dark, gritty Cornwall murders by the lake. I don't know. You do you, I do me. These are our books. Okay. First part of the reading challenge was I challenged you to read a royal book. What does that mean? I don't know. My upcoming book in October is called The Royal Runaway, and in the spring I featured a number of authors who also wrote books that had royal themes. So I thought, hey, pick up one of those. Pick up a new one. We're living in the age of Meghan and Harry and Princess Eugenie and her commoner fiance. So what better time than to explore royal themes? And the book I happened to read was Her Royal Spyness by Rhys Bowen, and I am obsessed. It is taking everything I can not to go to the library or Amazon and just get the rest of this. This is a first in a series. I should have looked up how many there are. I want to say 7 or 8. It could be more. They are mysteries. The main character is like 33rd in line to the British throne, and they're set in the 1930s England. So you get lots of it's historical, but not like too historical. Does that make sense? I mean, there's cars and ships and airplanes, but it's no cell phones. So murders are always way more fun when you don't have cell phones. But it's just really light, charming, amateur sleuth. I won't call it cozy. I've been in some discussions lately about what exactly constitutes a cozy mystery. So some people might declare these cozy. I'm not sure. I'll call them amateur sleuth. Really, really love that. And that I actually picked that up because I did an interview that you will be hearing in a few weeks with another author. And when you hear it, you'll know what I'm talking about. She recommended them. And they had been on my TBR list for forever. And I was finally like, okay, this hit me over. And I grabbed it and it was great. The next type of book I challenged you to read was a new to you genre. And I happened to read the start of Jeffe Kennedy's new series. And it's her fantasy series. And it's called Prisoner of the Crown. And I had read her fantasy romance before, but I will count this as a new to me genre because this was just straight up fantasy. No romance at all. None. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait for, I think maybe the second book is almost out, because Jeffy's just super prolific and I need to be more on top of that. But I really enjoyed that. It was a great vacation read for me. The next type of book I challenged you to read was one with a beach cover on it. And I got that idea because, and as if you've listened to this podcast, when I do the lightning round with guests, I always ask them if they would buy a book with abs on it or a beach on the cover. And I'm like, let me play along with my own game. And I have read Cocoa Beach by Beatriz Williams. And I've had people recommending this author to me for so long. I think my mom's given me a couple of her books. And why I finally picked it up, I don't know. I think I had bought this one actually a few years ago. I really don't know. I think it was already in my Kindle, and I was having a summer day and I was scrolling through and I picked this. I started reading it and loved it. I can't wait to dive into more books by Beatriz Williams. The book is another one set in 1920s or 1930s. Interesting. Okay, a connection there to the Rhys Bowen. It is vaguely gothic mystery. Because it's set post World War I. And there's some flashbacks to like the war in France and stuff. So there's a mystery. There's different layers of mystery. It's really, really good. And it has a beach on the cover. The next one I read was by a debut author. Oh, this one. Okay. Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. I do think she's a debut author. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. I need to double check that. But I've told y'all before, I can't debut. It's one of my mission statement. It's one of my missions for this podcast to promote debut authors. I really feel strongly about that, except sometimes it's hard to keep track of who's debut and who's not in this day and age with different names, different whatever. So I do believe she's a debut. If she's not, she's still really good. Read it. But it is, I guess, urban fantasy, and it's set in kind of a post-apocalyptic world where the main character is Navajo monster hunter, so completely unique, completely engrossing, and I really enjoyed it. All right, the next category was a cover with a pretty dress on it. I said in my last episode where we talked about the summer reading challenge that I really, really love books with just pretty dresses. I always talk about abs or beaches, but pretty dresses grab me every time. And I'm not really a person that picks books based on the cover, or I don't think I am, but something lush and feminine, and I'm usually more likely to look into it. So this one I'm going to just say I did two. Obviously, Wicked and the Wallflower by Sarah MacLean, and The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. And both of these thrilled me in different ways. I think they're a little bit different, a lot different, in tone and theme, which is odd to me because I got started reading Tessa Dare and Sarah MacLean around about the same time, maybe 5 years ago, and I've read everything that they've written ever. So it's kind of interesting to me that here I am in summer of 2018, and these two books, which are still fabulous, but could have, they've each really found their own voices, and through Regency historical or Victorian historical, and how two authors really at the top of their game, and how they're both approaching addressing amazing topics and identity and gender and sexuality in two completely different ways. Reading them back to back, I think, is really interesting, but also very entertaining. Okay. The next category was a book that inspired a movie/TV show. Oh my gosh. I read Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan, and I read that beginning of the summer. It might have even been May, but I'm still going to count it because the movie has changed my life. It's so beautiful. It's so happy. And this year I got out of the theater and I wanted to blog about it immediately, but then I thought, no, I'll just save all my thoughts for the podcast. 2018, I don't want to use this cliche of dumpster fire, because I don't even know if that accurately describes what 2018 has been. It's been chaotic. It's been messy. News is all over the place. You know, it's hard to keep up with things. It's hard not to feel dragged down, no matter what your political beliefs are. It's just, the world can seem very confusing and negative right now, but yet I feel like we have gotten these beautiful, bright spots of art and inclusiveness and new ways of seeing the world, and yes, love, and one of, you know, from Black Panther to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding to Crazy Rich Asians, and there's just been these beautiful, beautiful jewels of that put a smile on your face. And maybe, you know, if this was, I don't know, quote unquote normal times, when, you know, we weren't feeling quite so stressed out about the world, maybe Crazy Rich Asians wouldn't be such a beautiful, I mean, I just feel like it's like this sparkling tiara in the middle of our world right now. It's bright, it's happy, it's funny, it's colorful. It shows you, you know, culture and really beautiful people who are really rich. I mean, it's kind of awesome escapism in every single way. But anyway, I'm talking about the movie. The movie was fabulous. I told someone I really enjoyed the book. The book also inspired me in a lot of different ways, because I can't even really get into it right now, but the book inspired me in my writing. But then I feel someone else was like, the book and the movie aren't really the same. And I'm like, no, it feels like they took a pipette and they extracted the romantic comedy out of the book, and then they smushed it into like a gorgeous velvet Chanel bag, which you got to buy while you were also eating, I don't know, dim sum and drinking champagne. I mean, it's just this gorgeous experience that if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. All right, so I've gushed about all that, but my next category was I wanted to challenge everyone to read a book this summer that featured diverse characters, inclusive characters, that was by a person of color. So, I mean, two of my book choices did fit into that category. Trail of Lightning, which was Own Voices by Rebecca Roanhorse, and Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. So, goes to show. I feel like that should always be part of our reading. We should be reading widely. We should be reading inclusively, because you get these amazing jewels. You would miss out on so much if you don't do that. All right, and then the last category, it's kind of a gimme. Read a book by a former Women with Books guest. I have had such amazing guests on. I've been so blessed by people who say yes to this podcast, or the people who pitch me wonderful guests. Thank you so much out there, all the publicists and PR people that have reached out. You know, it's such a, I don't want to say honor. I mean, it is an honor when someone takes time out of their day and to talk with me. But it's just a joy. And I can really feel like the people that want to come on here, y'all just want to talk about books too. So it makes doing this podcast fun. But anyway, I've had so many great guests on, and in the third season, I've already put 4, 5, 6 episodes in the can. So y'all are gonna die. You're gonna love what's coming up. But anyway. And they've all written great books too. So going back to the guests from the first 2 seasons, 3 of my books that are on this list were by a former Women with Books guest: Sarah MacLean, Tessa Dare, Jeffe Kennedy. And, you know, I would love to have if I don't have you yet, Rhys Bowen, Beatriz Williams, Rebecca Roanhorse, and Kevin Kwan. Come on. And Kevin, you're totally welcome, even though I think you identify as a man. I'm not sure. But, I think that we would still love to have you on. Talk about your book and all the beautiful people and Chanel bags that are in it. All right. That is this episode. I'm still, reach out to me. Tell me what you've been reading. Tell me what you loved, what you didn't love. That can stay between you and me. I choose not to tell you guys if I read something and I don't like it. Just because I feel like that's most professional for me as an author and a host of a podcast about books. But hey, if you want to reach out and be like, do not read this book, I will take that under advisement. And I'm just really looking forward to spending another 10, 12 episodes with you guys and talking more about books with my guests and with myself. I'm sorry. Yeah, so that October episode featuring me, y'all be nice. and or email me and let me know what you want my interviewer to ask me. That sounds terrible. I'm terrified. All right, I'm going to put that in a vault and not think about it for another month. Thank you so much for tuning in to Women with Books, and keep reading.